All right, good afternoon. Today is April 23rd, 2025. It is 1 p.m. and we will call to order this special meeting. So let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, amendment and approval of the agenda.
So I have some amendments.
Okay,
What I'd like to do is create essentially a subsection,
a consent
a
agenda?
consent agenda item here, or items. Consent agenda items, I'd like added an engagement letter for Eric Kaitola.
Okay,
B, an intent to engage for services with VF Law Firm.
okay,
And C, an order authorizing emergency public contracting for Cedar Valley Road, Flores Creek Road, Sixes River Road, and North Bank River Road. There was a lot of damage done to those roads.
flood damage from.
Yes.
Okay. All right, and we can go ahead and have those added. We'll have that added as item number 3A, 3B, and 3C. I'm already familiar with A, I'm familiar with B, and now I'm familiar with C. Do you have any questions or discussion on any of those items, Brad?
Nope, nothing from me.
Okay. Any further discussion or anything from you on those items, Jay? Okay, and I don't either. So, would you like to make a
Sure.
motion?
I'll move to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor? Yes.
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 Okay. Motion passes 3-0 on the consent agenda. Okay. Now we'll move in.
To the consent agenda.
Now exactly.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
And I'll
I'll
second.
second it.
All right. Brad seconds. And all those in favor?
Yes.
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 Okay, passes 3-0. All right, and now we're getting to do some interviews again. Unfortunately, Isaac Hodges had to withdraw his appointment due to other work-related conflicts, and so yeah, here we are again, and see a few of you from last time. Thanks for coming back. I would like to give you the opportunity. I know those of you that were here last time who got to speak and answer some questions. If there's anything else you would like to say, you're welcome to do so. And for those who didn't have the chance to interview but did submit application, if you would like to have your time to speak and answer some questions, we welcome that as well. So I guess I'll just kind of go down the list here from the applicants that we had from our previous meeting. So first up was Mr. Dumeyer. If there's anything else you would like to say, you're welcome to do so.
Thank you. For the record, Jeremy Dumeyer. The board has a choice today. Choice of either continuing down the path that has led us to some broken relationships and distrust within the county with law enforcement, or to choose an individual who will work to rebuild those relationships and who will work to serve the citizens of this county. There are a myriad of opportunities out there towards rebuilding law enforcement in Curry County. There's a myriad of opportunities for rebuilding the public's trust. And a lot of those do not involve anything directly from Curry County other than our support. I'd like to bring your attention to a House bill that is currently pending, House Bill 3870. It is sponsored by Representative Gomberg, co-sponsored by Senator David Brock Smith. House Bill 3870 is a grocery list. It is approximately $50 million. It is lined out in various wants and needs to emergency services throughout the state of Oregon, such as about $1.5 million to the Emergency Service Dispatch Center of Southern Oregon. I know I butchered that acronym up, but for communications for dispatch in Josephine and Jackson County, $1.5 million to improve their dispatch capabilities. Another $15 million towards building a fire hall up north. What is most interesting is Section 11 of that House bill, which directs the Oregon Business Development Department for the biennium beginning in July to provide from the general fund an amount of $1.7 million for distribution to Grant County Sheriff's Office, or among other things, procurement of vehicles, operations, and personnel. What's interesting on this list, this grocery list, is there's a $3 million directive for the Rogue Siskiyou Regional Fire Training Facility, which would benefit Curry County, but it's not law enforcement. Curry County law enforcement is not contemplated on House Bill 3870. I would be such an advocate to be asking as to why, or can we get included on there for an additional $3 million even from the next biennium? That certainly would help our situation here with our general fund, with our sheriff's office. It would help start putting deputies back on the road. The choice is up to you. Do you want to appoint an individual who you may disagree with, but who will work to rebuild the relationships in this county and who will do what the citizens ask? Or do you want to appoint a yes man, someone that you are familiar with, that you will get along with and will do as you request? That's all I have today.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you. Let's see who would be up next here. Excuse me a second, I'm scrolling. Mr. Clark. Peter Clark.
Nice to see you again. I'm Pete Clark. I was quite surprised to get a call from, or an email to say, would you like to come back? And the fact of the matter is, yeah. I think that I agree to some extent that one's relationship is immaterial to the effectiveness of this board. I spoke with you, Commissioner Hollinger, that a fresh set of eyes is valuable. I bring that to the table. The other issue is that I've got some experience in legislative matters. And the fact that one person is holding this whole thing up, is creating chaos in Curry County, is utterly unacceptable. And it would be my advice, and I would place great effort at changing, amending the law or having a new law passed. I've done it in 2 states. I've had bills considered in 3 states. And frankly, I work the legislature myself, which is a hell of a lot cheaper than the law firm of X, Y, and Z that's currently being undertaken. But I think, as I was speaking with Commissioner Hollinger, this is one of those, why are you hitting yourself in the head with a hammer? Because it feels so good when I stop. I think you just change tacks. Address that because there are so much other important measures that need to be dealt with in Curry County, that the whole law enforcement matter is really precluding a lot of stuff being done. And it would be my position, and I've got experience in all of those areas, from economic development, legislation, municipal administration, budget oversight and development. All of those things I've done, and I'd like to do them here. And I think I stand as a fresh set of eyes, and I think a creative force in responding to the challenges that are confronted here. Would like the opportunity to do so. So that I'm happy to field any questions you might have.
Okay.
I don't have any right now, Pete. Thank you.
I don't either. Do you have anything, Brad?
Nothing from me.
No? Okay. All right.
I apologize, I'm late, I was in road construction.
What's your name, man?
C. Roberts, Cecilia Roberts,
Okay.
Okay.
I already got my name. Cool.
All right. Mr. John Huddle, if you have anything else, please.
Sure, thanks all. Good to see you guys again. So last time I was here, I talked about my experience with the county after a couple of decades almost at the city of Medford, and the accomplishments that I helped the commission achieve on behalf of the citizens, the good resolution of a dispute up at Flores Lake, the removal of a drug house and a nice neighborhood in Harbor, the termination of a department head with no award of damages, and the department head dismissed their lawsuit against the county ultimately. Also, I didn't talk about a couple other things. One time with the county commission, a large landowner came in, a corporate landowner came in, and they wanted to remove a cattle district or a grazing district, and it seemed like a no-brainer. There was no opposition, but what it actually did is it affected the rights, longstanding rights of the earliest pioneers of Curry County up in the northern part of the county, the DeMint Ranch. And once we got wind of that, we took action, and I helped the board, and we achieved a successful resolution of that, and the two parties worked that out. And then lastly, something I did, so that's for probably the oldest family in the county before I think even statehood. And then for the youngest people in the county, one of our commissioners was adamantly opposed to administering a grant for the Brookings Head Start program at the old library building. And, I championed that cause, and successfully we completed the Brookings Head Start remodel. And so for the youngest members of our county, most vulnerable population, I really helped that a lot. So, and then lastly, I talked about last time we were here, the position of the Director of Operations. And I was the county council when we put together that. And there was discussion of if the County Board of Commissioners had a Director of Operations, then the Board of Commissioners could go, the discussion was all over the board. This was not by any means the majority opinion, but there was discussion philosophically that the Board of Commissioners then, each commissioner could work less, take less salary, and then the salary of the commissioners could be put to funding that position in part. And that was my approach that I told you I'd want to take here, and I still stand by that. And I think, this is pure speculation on my part, but it's possible, and again, total speculation, but if your last candidate was offered part-time county commissioner, it may have worked out there. And I think if there's an insistence on a county commissioner has to be a full-time, and you won't consider anyone who's not full-time, you may be losing good candidates. And so I just want you to really consider that. But my position is firm. I would not be here every day. I would not want to be here every day. I enjoy retirement. I think I could still do a good job, but if you think it's a full-time job, I'm probably not the candidate for you, is really where I'm at. So, but I think in a part-time capacity, I could do a real bang-up job. So really, that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
Thank you, John.
Okay.
Thank you. Spirit Miller.
And so, Spirit, just so you know, I know you weren't present when we started, but this is just an opportunity if you wanted to add anything to your original. There was a couple of people we did have that didn't get a chance to speak at the last one, so we're giving everybody the opportunity to kind of just renew their thoughts.
Thank you.
Mueller.
His name is Meller.
Meller.
M-E-L-L-E-R, yeah. Awesome. Thank you for the opportunity to speak again. I think I got 4 relatively quick things I'd like to cover. First topic is the staffing of the planning division of the county. I work with the planning division very regularly, and it was staffed with 3 to 4, varying between 3 and 4 people before. Currently, there are, I think, is 1 full-time administrative staff now. I have listened to both Brad and Council Fitzgerald make critical comments about the previous staff. I'm not here to adjudicate those comments. I will say that before that staff left, about 90% of the comments I heard from contractors and owners, I work with about 24 owners every year, and about 2/3 that many contractors on projects. About 90% of the comments were positive when the planning division was staffed with people who appeared to know what they were doing. Since then, 100% of the comments I hear, I don't solicit them, they come to me. 100% of the comments I have heard in the last year and a half have been negative. It is mostly about timeliness and how long it takes to get something out of the department. That is a workload issue and a staffing issue. A few of the comments are about knowledge or expertise. We must, in my opinion, staff the planning division properly. That is where property tax base is increased by increasing the value of property, increases tax revenue, and can help solve some of the problem. When we defer projects 6 months, 9 months, a year, the contractors are hurt and the tax base increase is deferred. We have to do that. Second thing, on the theme of some of the staffing positions being overwhelmed with work, I want to talk about the dual hatting of the county council with the director of operations. I believe the director of operations workload is entirely too large right now, and he appears to be unable to keep up with everything that everybody wants from him. Secondly, it appears to me to be a giant conflict of interest to have the council and the director of operations be the same person. There are 2 issues in the conflict of interest. One, when I was a fleet manager for aircraft, when we do critical operations, we have 2 people look at it. A qualified mechanic comes along, signs off on their work. If it's critical to the safety of the aircraft, we bring in a craftsman level mechanic, second set of eyes, they inspect it, sign off and say it's good. 2 sets of eyes improves the result. That is one of the purposes of county council, for the supervisors and others to be able to say, hey, this is what I think should be done. What do you think?
So can I interject?
Sure.
So I appreciate the lecture. And in a perfect world, I'm sure that federal budget has the person to afford the second set of eyes. I want to say a couple of things. Our planning department was reduced mainly because the budget that had historically been provided was inaccurate. They had overestimated their revenues on an annual basis that was not even closely to being attainable. So at the beginning of budget, they were proposing that they were always budget neutral. But by the end of the year, there was a huge contingent of money that was coming out of the general fund to cover the losses. And then they would cut and paste that budget to the next year, and it would get approved. Then we realized it's not a sustainable budget. So yes, unfortunately, that they were overstaffed and over budgeted, and they were overestimating their revenues. So we had to reduce that. As you know, we faced a $5 million shortfall in our budget. The criticisms that you're making about our county council and director of operations in combining efforts, actually, Mr. Huddle was the first person to ever do that. He was county council and director of operations. So, as you say, it is a giant conflict of interest. I would firmly disagree with you. Also, I understand how you would financially benefit from a more amenable, you have a financial benefit for a planning department that is overstaffed.
Actually, I want to correct that. That's not true. I don't get paid when planning clearances get approved. What I get is happy clients who've already paid me to do the design work. I'm paid by the time we get to planning clearance. I do not financially benefit from a planning department that functions properly.
Okay. So I hope that the points that I'm making bring some clarity, because yes, everything could be solved if we had more money.
Okay. I appreciate the rebuttal.
Mm-hmm.
It's very clear. You and I have talked about these things before. I've talked with Brad. I've talked with Ted about them also. Moving on. The relationship with the sheriff is broken down. I mentioned that the last time. No matter where the declaratory judgment comes out, the judge is going to say these are the lines. No matter what is said, I believe this body has a responsibility to the public, as does the sheriff, to work together and get along. So my encouragement, and if I were selected, that would be my professional ethic to serve the public by figuring out how to get along with whoever is the elected sheriff. I think that's very important, and I would encourage this body to make whatever relational efforts are necessary to get along with the other elected officials that the public has elected. The last thing I would like to say is that Lynn Coker is an exceptionally qualified gentleman. He has invested a lot. The planning department is on his list of priorities, and for a lot of other reasons, I am withdrawing my name and supporting Lynn Coker. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think that was everybody who interviewed last go around. Lynn, I know last go around you withdrew. Ms. Roberts was not present and Mr. Bond was not present. So I say let's just give them the opportunity to have the chance to do their interview now. And
Certainly.
Lynn, would you like to go next, please?
It's an honor to be considered for the appointment, especially in light of the volume of the applicants and the quality of the people that have applied for this position. And so I'm left with the question of, well, why would they choose Lynn? And I want to respond to that question. Most importantly, I think I bring a unique blend of leadership experience across public sectors, private sectors, even nonprofits. That leadership experience is shaped over more than 5 decades. And I've worked in urban planning, economic development, global technology, plus commercial real estate and development. From an educational background perspective, I have degrees as an undergraduate and graduate with focus on urban affairs and planning. In my early days, that qualified me for a career to serve as a development officer for a global foundation, and I worked with both state and federal organizations and Fortune 500 companies in pursuit of rural and urban development funds and projects. Still, early in my professional career, I co-founded a boutique marketing firm that literally propelled me into the world of information technology. For over 20 years that followed, I helped build and deliver the infrastructure and services behind the global internet. Eventually, as an officer-level executive for a global communications firm, I managed several billions of dollars in business-to-business revenue and led large national and international teams with literally tens of millions of dollars in money management tasks unfolding from that. After leaving corporate life, I launched a sole proprietorship in commercial valuation that led to a 21-year career in commercial real estate and development. Simultaneously with my business development, it ran parallel. I spent 25 years serving our communities as a volunteer life coach and an addiction counselor. That included 13 years serving as a counselor with the California State Prison System. And I'm now still a recovery coach in Curry County, working in both Brookings and Gold Beach. These experiences have prepared me to serve Curry County with humility, with perspective, and with practical management and leadership skills. I believe local government is where democracy lives and breathes. And to serve well, I know I have to represent all of our constituents, but I also know that I have to be aligned with the board in order to get things done. Things like unifying our county, things like building an environment of accountability within our processes and our departments, and finally creating and delivering a shared vision. Toward that end, if appointed, I will promote a culture of merit and excellence, recognizing those who serve our county with integrity. I will uphold the dignity and the safety of every resident, and that includes our county employees. I will advocate for transparency and honest government where disagreement is welcomed every day, but at the same time, it cannot inhibit progress. I will foster collaboration across differences because no one does their work alone in this world. And no one person or one organization has all the answers. Collaboration is the only successful pathway forward. Finally, I will help share and build a long-term vision for Curry County that focuses on natural resource stewardship and management, the revitalization of our infrastructure, certainly public health and law enforcement and safety, public safety, focusing on balancing our budgets, and then, of course, outreach to our communities, and certainly establishing stakeholder circles and communications that will allow them to come with us and advocate towards our common goals. But I seek this task because I care deeply about Curry County. So does my family, and we care about our neighbors. That's our motivation. And finally, I want to share something that's a deep, personal item. It's central to who I am and how I lead. I am a person in long-term recovery. And this has shaped me into someone who so seriously believes in personal accountability that I like to say to people I work with, it just simply runs in my veins. I also can, because of this post-addiction cycle, I have the ability to lead when there is extraordinary confusion and pressure. And I think another gift in my recovery has been that I have the opportunity to set aside personal concerns and am able to lead a team through adversity. And this has shown up in my most senior executive leadership when managing very large organizations from around the world, different languages and cultures. I'm able to provide the kind of direction for that kind of diverse population. What I bring to the table is not just leadership experience, Because of my background, I bring a perspective. It's hard-earned, it's tested, it's grounded in both service and success. I don't make excuses. I seek and grapple with the possibility to find solutions. And I lead with both compassion and with results in mind. If given the opportunity, I will bring the same commitment of resilience, strategic mindset that has guided me through 5 decades of growth, recovery, and leadership. And actually, I think that's the kind of service that Curry County needs. And I'd be delighted to bring that along with me if I'm allowed to serve alongside you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Lynn. Thanks. I've got a question for you. On your application, one of the items that you touch on says to you'd like to help amplify communication and outreach with citizens, and I know you just touched on that a bit with your speech now. But in regards to the communication, you've expressed definitely some concern regarding the lack of communication the county has given to our constituents over the past many years. And it's something we're definitely hoping to bring that accountability, transparency, and kind of change that culture going forward. So what would you do differently in order to contribute the communication to the citizens of the county if you were elected or appointed? I'm sorry.
So as I understand the situation, and I've watched it unfold now for about 7 years, there are voices that are far more powerful in the public square and articulate than is the voice of the county. And my suggestion is that we make the public voice of the county in the public square equally as noisy, if you will, equally as present as are the many other voices. And it's incredibly important to do that, because out of all of the constituents in the public square that are making noise, there's only one group that is charged with representing the entire county, and that is the Board of Commissioners. Yet the county, through the Board of Commissioners, doesn't have the voice, doesn't have the clarity. So in general, that's what I see to be the disease, if you will. And what I'm suggesting is that we consider looking at the deployment of things like podcasts that we grow into. We start maybe podcasts within the county on a month-to-month basis. And what would we focus on? We would go with the problem of the day. We would listen to what the community is saying through the many voices, and we would encapsulate the bare bones issues out of that, and we would provide responses to the community relative to how leadership perceives resolution of those issues on a timely basis. Do it every month, and if we get really good at that, we can think about other kinds of podcasts that we would do. And just think of what it would mean to be able to do podcasts department by department and bring personality, bring flesh, bring creative ideas and wonderful people to the screen so that our county gets to know them. Our county needn't be, we only have, 14,000 residences, 26,000 people. You can almost know everybody in our county by name, but we don't see people behind the veil of the organization called county. Let's bring them forward through the podcast opportunity. I think we also have to look really hard at building a user-friendly website for the county. You think of any enterprise that effectively deals with complex matters with a variety of disparate entities, as voters can be. We need a website that is as friendly and as intelligent as are websites that other people use very successfully. And that needn't be very expensive, but it can be built over a period of time. The website we've got now is a little bit like reading a plumber's book, and that's not what we're trying to do here. We're trying to educate. We're trying to corral people behind a common vision. We're trying to get them to be glad about paying taxes in a county like ourselves, and we can only do that by focusing our communications. I think we need to amplify the notion of town halls and continue those, but make them regular, and we would embellish them with, again, high tech. We would allow people to come in across the county through video, as we've done before in town halls, but again, pre-program it, get it on the calendar. Again, we're about building consensus, a common direction in the county, and people can't do that if they don't know when they can talk to you next publicly. So that's just a couple of the things, but there's probably about 9 or 10 things on the hit list that we ought to take a look at.
Okay. I have one more question. Your background as in commercial real estate, urban planning, et cetera. I know I've seen you and we've attended several meetings, pretty much every single meeting together over the last year here, just familiarizing ourselves with the issues and the concerns. But I remember about a year ago or so, you told me that you helped the city of Gold Beach with its planning and zoning, rezoning. Is that correct?
They didn't ask for it, they got it.
Do you see a need for that as well in the county in order to rezone some of our areas to help with further development within our county going in, I guess I don't even know how to phrase this, but it would also help with the planning department as well and expediting, as Spirit said, some items that can get held up during some pretty extensive surveying or studies or what have you, different federal or state agencies. Would there be any opportunity for that, for the county to do some rezoning in order to simplify the planning process for new homeowners or builders, et cetera?
Well, there is, of course. It's a protracted process in any community, but in Oregon, it's even longer than most. But with that said, there are modifications to current zoning regulations that we could probably make in the short term while you focus on the long term, a broader approach, a broader picture to what you'd want to do with your zoning. For instance, it would be a grand opportunity if the county were able to come together either off of the county land or working with investors and developers in the area, large landowners, be able to recategorize some portion of their holdings and be able to move with multifamily housing. One of the neat things that we had talked about is an example of what can be done was what the county was prepared to do up there on Airport Road just north of Port Orford, where all the trees were cut down. It's right across the street from the high school, and there was the thought that what we could do is we could put in multifamily housing up there. That is still a perfectly great idea, but I haven't heard much about the productivity of that moving forward. But it's a classic example of what can be done between landowners, public landowners and private landowners, and a community that's interested in moving forward with something like that. And we should revisit that, by the way, if it's not already. We haven't talked about it for a while.
Thank you. Jay, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Brad, do you have any questions for Lynn?
No questions.
No questions? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you, Lynn.
Let's see. Miss Cecilia Roberts.
Hard act to follow. I was going to limit myself to the 5 minutes, so that's what I'm going to do. In addition, thank you for giving me a few minutes. I'm sorry for the road construction and for not being here on the 15th. However, I did watch your YouTube video, all of it. A long time. Actually, I watched it twice. And in addition to the information that I provided with my application, I did retire 32 years ago as a manager with AT&T. Part of the 5 years prior to my retirement was spent with as part of a team converting all the analog switches in 6 counties in Northern California to digital. So I have a lot of experience with that piece of the corporate. I'm sorry. Thank you. No, it's okay. Thank you. Thank you. I usually, my voice carries a lot further. And then following my retirement, I did go on to work for other corporations. I was a senior in Blue Shield and Waste Management in Sacramento, Placerville County, or El Dorado County, and parts of Sacramento. In addition to a corporate experience, I was co-owner of a successful alpaca ranch in California, which included budgeting, purchasing, and sales. I did leave California in 2013, and I believe I mentioned that in my application. I moved to Colorado for about 10 years, got my real estate license, and was in real estate for one of my nephew's companies there for about 5 years. I feel that I have a lot of experience in customer service and corporate communications and all that. What I don't have, I watched on the video, I have no relationship with anyone on the Board of Commissioners, nothing there, but I would like to establish that, if I was chosen. There's so many people here that are so overly qualified. I say overly, they're amazingly qualified for this position. But I also think that as a new resident, I've only been in Harbor for about 2 years, and I am aware of a lot of issues. I don't know the background on a lot of them. I don't know the history on the Sheriff's Department. I just know we have no patrols in Harbor. We have issues there without having law enforcement, without the support of it. We have a lot of homelessness issues in Harbor and Brookings that need to be addressed. So as a new resident of Curry County and Harbor, I think I have a different perspective, having been in small towns and large communities such as Colorado, Sacramento areas, Boulder, Colorado specifically. Anyway, other than that, I'm going to cut my time off now.
Well, thank you.
Anyway, and if you have any questions, I'd like to address that. But I would like to also say that I would like to do this part-time as I am retired. I take my job seriously, but I don't take myself too seriously. But I would like to spend some more time being retired now. Anyway, thank you for your time. Do you have any questions? Nope? Okay. No.
Brad, do you have any questions?
No, nothing from me.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And I believe last would be Anthony Bond.
So I have to follow up behind everybody. That's my punishment for not being here last week. I will apologize to everybody here. I'm sorry that I did not attend last week. We'll call it a senior moment. However, I volunteer over at the Southern Curry Cemetery Maintenance District. And I was actually working out there when all of a sudden I realized something was wrong. Anyway, and I missed the meeting. Anyhow, I'm Anthony Bond. I was actually encouraged to apply for the vacancy here on the board, mostly from the people that I work with, or actually I should say I work for. I basically started a career after college in California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation and retired as a correctional counselor too. Not like Lynn. He's on the other side of the house where he was dealing with treatment, things like that. I was actually on the officer side of the house. So one of the problems that was with the county that was addressed to me was issues that were ongoing with the jail. I found that kind of interesting because I have intentionally tried not to involve myself in the YouTube videos of the council because should I manage to get appointed to the position, I don't want to have a preconceived notion or preconceived ideas in regards to problems. It's not how I operate. I've had at least five personal businesses that I have started. Successful at 3, failed at 2. That's what you get with a learning curve. Very familiar with all of the mistakes that I made to force the 2 to fail. Honestly, on one of them, getting politically involved was one of the problems with that business failing. I don't like politics. I never have. I'm very blunt, very to the point. I'm a man of few words as far as political issues go. For example, were I to discuss with David Brock Smith the issue with the House bill that you were referring to, my phone call would simply be, hey, what's up? And let him explain it. It's not my nature to become immediately confrontational in order to resolve a problem. My nature is to study the problem and then come up with solutions for that problem. The issues with the ongoing sheriff, unfortunately, I've had my own involvement with that, actually, dealing with the homeless issue down in Harbor and obviously with the city of Brookings. I happen to be on the planning commission with the city of Brookings. I've been there for 4 years. And the homeless issues that have happened down there are extreme, to say the least. An example of some of the frustrations, and again, this is optics, was having, I counted out 6 tents at 101 and Benham Avenue. And 1 block away was a sheriff officer sitting in his truck with the windows up, not doing anything about it. Now, admittedly, homelessness is not a crime. However, littering, I believe in the state of California, or in the state of Oregon, is a $6,700 fine. It's a sign that I drive by every day when coming back from California. Yep, we're not enforcing the law. Now, I would love to ask Sheriff Ward about that. I'd love to ask, again, the commissioners about that, or I can actually become a part of the system and try to fix it from within. And that's what I'm interested in. The other side of it was I mentioned that a lot of my customers have asked me to approach this job. And that was in regards to, I own a brush clearing business. With the nature of fire hazards that we have nowadays in the area, it's kind of an important business. That's what I do. We have at least 2 customers that I know of personally that I have talked to, gone out, cleared their properties, and have had problems with the Planning Commission. Not necessarily the Planning Commission, but the Planning Department, where they've just had test holes dug for septics. And one guy had 9 test holes dug because they couldn't get anybody to grant approval. So rather than grant approval again, they just made him dig 3 more, and then made him dig 3 more. One inspector from another county came out to clear this and said, no, it's no good, he only dug 2 holes. Never got out of his car and saw the 3rd hole that was literally sitting 10 feet in front of him from where he parked. These are the kinds of things that were brought up to me and these people that encouraged me to run for the position, because obviously I find that to be completely unacceptable. I have never in my life ever passed judgment on a person for a job I've never done. That's not leadership. Leadership involves actually getting in the trenches and working with the people and understanding what they're doing, their own frustrations, their own perspectives, and then if you still have a problem with them after that, then that's how you deal with them. 20 years owning towing companies, 25 years driving tow truck, you learn that. You got people that come in, they do the job just fine. They might have some personal quirks and things like that. You learn to deal with them, you learn to work around it. Others come in, they want the check, they're gone. And they cause all kinds of havoc, especially when you're dealing with public environment. And again, it's public environment. Same thing with a towing company, same thing with the county. This is political, that's personal, business. My experience with the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, I went from being a correctional officer all the way up to captain and back down to CC2, correctional counselor 2. There are ways to deal with things legally. I was in the appeals part of that process for better than 3.5 years. There are ways to deal with this particular issue that you guys have going on with the sheriff. You've already at the judge is going to make his determination on how you guys are going to proceed. There's other ways to go about doing that. One of the first ways, obviously, would be to finally get this guy to sit down and have a conversation, obviously. Televised. Get it out there. Because let's face it, the last time we had an election, our candidates were limited to 2, not 6. And that's the reason why we are where we are at. So if it can't be held accountable in one way, it can be held accountable in others. And it would be my job in that position to find that way in that particular issue. Same thing goes with everybody else, anybody that works with the county. But to be in that chair, I'm going to have to turn around and go to every single department around here and figure out how they work. And that would be my job. Now, I'm retired. I retired from the Department of Corrections. I've been retired for 6 years. I've been roaming around, dealt with cancer twice. You know, this public service is where I've decided to where I need to be. It keeps me going. And this is one of those positions. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Anthony.
Thank you.
No, I mean, no questions. I just point out that during the last meeting, I don't know if you were able to watch it, but Commissioner Alcorn did bring you up as a individual who couldn't be present, but is always seeking an opportunity to serve the public, and so thank you for that.
Yeah, I jotted down some notes and stuff here, and it seems like you've kind of been there and done that in a lot of different aspects. I guess you know, my question would be, you know, there's a homeless issue, and we see that, you know, Brookings and Harbor, and you know, here in Gold Beach and up along Highway 101, and getting to your littering. You know, we've had that conversation before with our DA, who very much wants to be able to have the opportunity to prosecute for littering and trespassing. However, that's only half of the equation.
Correct.
And the other half of that equation isn't getting the DA what he needs in order to make that happen. But how else would you address the homeless and drug crisis in Curry County? What would be, give like an example of what we would want to recommend that,
Honestly,
that we
you
would
have to
look
get the
at?
sheriff's department back on board. That's got to happen. The laws have to be enforced. It's that simple. The rest of it all falls in line. If there's anything I learned in the Department of Corrections, if you enforce the laws, the public safety follows with enforcement of the laws. That's it. It's that simple. Apparently, the state of Oregon is deciding that they're going to step in. It's an issue that I've actually discussed with Brad Alcorn at least on 3 occasions. We had a $3-4 million building drop in Brookings for mental health services, but the citizens of the county aren't being serviced. It's the homeless of the county that are being serviced. And again, have a huge issue with the methodology. I've looked into Grants Pass and looked into the Supreme Court decision that's happened with Grants Pass. And it's not that they think that they are particularly on the right track. I think everybody has seen the parking lot where all the homeless have ended up, and it's nothing more than a cesspool. And that is something that has continued on. You can find that in Los Angeles, Seattle, which is where I had my stem cell transplant done. I was up there for 4 months. It's the same disaster. It's the same problem. So necessarily finding a piece of land to put all the homeless on is not necessarily a solution to the problem. However, enforcing the laws, specifically the ones like with the people camping out on the sides of the roads, yeah, go ahead, move on. If there's obviously services that are being made available from the state of Oregon. There's also local NGOs that have been doing both a lot of help and a lot of damage. A lot of those NGOs have been encouraging homeless people to come here because of the temperate climate and you know, everybody's generous and we're all going to help you out. I have my own opinions in regards to how they're doing that, but that's beside the point. But I honestly believe that a simple enforcement of laws will bring about, again, the end, public safety. These people will either A, move on, or B, seek help. and that help is being more than adequately provided in the town, then not taking advantage of it.
Yeah, thank you. Brad, do you have any questions for Mr. Bond?
Yes, actually, I do. Well, good afternoon, Anthony. How are you?
Hi, Brad. How you doing?
I'm good, man. So here's my question. So if you've been following along, you see that our sheriff has a conflict with the BOC, and basically the sheriff will not sit down and have any conversations with us. He will not attend our meetings. He will not attend our workshops, and will not provide any detailed information about any statistical numbers or anything that's happening at the sheriff's office. And I did meet with him individually, one-on-one, and basically I was told that he is the highest elected official in the county and we don't tell him what to do. So knowing that, and also knowing that we have some major issues with crime in our county, how would you address a sheriff that's conducting business in that manner?
Not to give away too many secrets on my own personal ideas in regards to this. However, every individual in the county, including BOC members and the sheriff, have a job description. And I am sure that as law enforcement, in the end of his job description, at some point is going to say in other duties as required. As the major shareholder in the county budget that he oversees, he has a responsibility to report to the BOC. He might be the highest elected official, but he's not the one that signs his own paycheck. That doesn't happen that way. Again, something that should be negotiated, sure, he's not negotiating with you. I mean, I apologize for that. I don't agree with it 110%. I'm not even sure he would negotiate with me. And that might be an issue. But going that legal route, again, observing what his conditions of employment are, elected or not, he still has conditions of employment, and that's what I would be going at. And that's obviously coming from an appeals coordinator standpoint from CDC, right? Because that's how we deal with, for example, inmates who aren't doing their job that they've been assigned, et cetera, their housing, that kind of thing. It all comes down to, in my opinion, it has to be settled out in one form or another, and if it has to go the legal route, then that's the way it has to go. But bottom line is he doesn't sign his own paycheck. So you got to negotiate it at first. If it's not going to be negotiated, then you got to play hardball. You guys have already done it. You've taken it to court. You're going to have an answer soon from that judge, and you're going to have to go from there.
All right. Thank you.
I got nothing.
Yeah.
All righty.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony.
I think we have everybody that was here. I don't think we're missing anybody. So thank you all for coming and speaking and having interest in this role. It's challenging, and we're definitely in an environment right now that well, there's a lot of change going on within our county right now, and a lot of change that hasn't even been considered in the past. But so thank you for at least recognizing that and willing to throw your name in the hat for that responsibility. Do you have any other words or discussion, Brad?
No, I really appreciate the willingness for everybody to serve that has applied, and I really appreciate everybody being open and honest about levels of commitment. I do feel that it's very important right now for the person who takes my place, for them to be willing to commit to a full-time, everyday duties because we've got some issues, some major issues that have to be moved forward. We've made a lot of progress in many areas, but I do think it's going to require someone to be there every day, several hours a day. I think eventually we can work into a point where that part-time responsibilities and workload can be shared. But right now, I don't think it's possible to do that. That's all I have.
I would agree with that statement too. There's a lot happening right now, and it's a lot of hours, and it's needed for everything that we're going through right now. Jay?
No, I would, again, as in the first round of this, Brad, if you have a point of emphasis on a person here that you would best see suit your constituents and represent your departure, then I would obviously weigh that very heavily in my decision making going forward.
So yes, just looking at everybody's package that was submitted, listening to everybody today, I think Mr. Huddle is very qualified, but I do think the time commitment is going to be full time. I think that Spirit offers a lot as well, and Anthony Bond, maybe he is the one that could, break through to the sheriff. I don't know. But when you look at the totality of all of the people who have applied, the candidate that rises to the top is clearly Lynn Coker. And I would be very comfortable knowing that he stepped into my role and took my place.
Okay. I tend to agree, as you rehashed our comments from last week, but there's a level of expertise in this room that's pretty stellar, and a lot of people who really want to work to move the county forward, and in their own capacities and in their own ways. And I believe that to be honorable. It takes a lot of courage to want to come up and do this, and do this job. And so, I can support that.
It also gives me a level of comfort too, knowing that Mr. Coker is the one consistent person who attends every single one of our meetings and is up to speed on everything that we have going on here. He does know. I've met with him on a number of bases, as well as I know he's met with you, Brad, and Jay, and discussing items and addressing his concerns and ideas. And I know I've had an opportunity to work with him on stuff through Gold Beach Main Street as well, and him offering his assistance to that group in some of the projects they're hoping to push forward, and as well as stuff with the city. He's already worked on projects with them, so I would also be comfortable with Mr. Coker's appointment. So
I also do believe that a certain blind spot that we have is communication, and one of the greatest opportunities we have is in zoning. And if we have somebody who's got a lot of experience in those two areas, it will add tremendous value to the process. So
yeah. Okay.
I won't belabor it any longer. I would move to appoint Lynn Coker to position number 1, effective May 2nd.
And I will second that. And I believe, Mr. Alcorn, you have to abstain from the vote. So, and with that being
correct.
said, motion passes 2-0.
You got to call for the vote.
Sorry.
I motioned. You seconded.
I second it. All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes. All right, motion passes 2-0. Mr. Coker, congratulations on your appointment. With that, I will adjourn this meeting.
Do we have an executive session? Or is it just on the agenda?
Just on the agenda. I don't believe we have anything
Okay.
else for executive session, so
Okay.
we will adjourn this meeting at 2:05 PM. Thank you.